Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 123 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother from the same mother, Lester Jones.
Hello, everybody.
And we also got, new intro this week, the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder. They call him the Pie Man, so you better watch your hymen. The cherry bustin', barely legal lustin'. He's never made a wrong call. If there's grass on the field, play ball.
No.
The phenomenal AJ Singh.
No.
Well, you won't hear that one for like another
15, like,
15 episodes or something.
You're gonna get me arrested with this, man.
There's only so many sexual things I'm finding out.
It had to come to like near pedophilia at some point.
I watched your back on this one.
Dog fucking.
Barely legal busted. Never made a wrong call.
I prefer the scat category.
The good old days of scat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of scat, what kind of shit you guys been watching this week?
Speaking of shit, Steven Seagal, man. I've been watching a lot of like breakdowns of Steven Seagal movies, and they're hilarious. Like the people who like break them down are like just making fun of him so much. But man, Steven Seagal plays out his wildest fantasies in these movies. Like he is the guy in every one of his movies.
Did he like write all the scripts?
Probably.
He does write some of them, yeah. And he's like Sifu and like this master, amazing military guy, or he's always some sort of respectable, like awesome guy that everybody looks up to, and all the women want to bang. Like, and they're half his age, and they really can't help it. He's hilarious, man. I don't know.
I need to start writing myself some movies.
Like, is he paying for these movies? Like, who's backing this? Who's letting him live out his fantasies on film like this?
It is weird, some of the people that were allowed to be big movie stars.
Yeah.
You're like, how did this happen?
Well, actually, I saw a breakdown of Seagal. His whole thing was that he became famous by pretending to be like, he did do martial arts, I guess, like real martial arts. But he pretended to be like this great, like, artist to the stars, and teaching like celebrities how to do martial arts and stuff. And then he started getting to know celebrities, and he found out from his manager, I guess, that if he wants to be in a movie, he has to be seen with like a high level celebrity, dating somebody. So who's that lady in Weird Science? She was really popular in the 80s.
The movie or the TV
the model?
show?
She was in the movie. I forgot her name. But
yeah, I can't remember her name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he married her, and they had a kid together, and it launched him into like stardom. And he got like his first role. I forgot what it was called. License to Kill, maybe something like that.
That is one of his movies.
I'm not sure which one it was, but it was it was like his big breakthrough 80s, dumb action star movie, and it was like his only hit. After that, it was like all downhill.
I know. I saw Under Siege back in the day.
Or maybe it was Under Siege.
I don't remember hardly anything about it.
Yeah,
I remember he was like a Navy SEAL who was trying to become a cook or something.
Yeah.
I just have to keep killing people.
Seagal always tries to act like such a wise man in his movies, and he says the stupidest shit. You can't even tell what he's saying sometimes because he's just like, like he tries to have like a southern accent. He'll be like, it's just awful, man. Sometimes he tries to sound kind of like urban, and that sounds weird.
I saw this funny video of him, just like, a newer video of him, like maybe a couple years ago, where he's like doing these like, karate demonstrations, but like these guys are just like taking bumps for him. He's like barely touching them, and they're like flipping around and shit. And I'm like, what is this for?
That was like one of his first introductions to like martial arts. I think he was doing it like for Hollywood. He had some sort of like presentation he was doing for some Hollywood big shots that he was like, I'm this great martial artist and I can do something for you guys. And he had one of his like lackeys like jumping around doing amazing cartwheels and flips for him, like while he was barely touching him. And like even that guy said, like, yeah, of course it was an act. You know, I was playing it up. You know, like none of that was real. So I mean, that's his whole career right there, just that stuff. You see, there's so many videos of him just like barely touching people and them doing somersaults and stuff. It's all the same stuff.
I was watching an episode of Tom Segura a couple of weeks ago. He had Al Franken on as a guest. And yeah, he was talking about SNL and like, he's like, I've heard that like, you know, a lot of SNL people like, you know, want to talk about who's the worst guest or whatever. And like, apparently everyone who was like on SNL around that time is like, if you ask them, they're like, Steven Seagal was like the worst host. Like apparently like he just didn't want to do like any of the sketches, or he wanted to make changes that were like ridiculous that made him look better. And even though it was like completely unfunny and shit like that,
Yeah.
just like really hard to work with, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that, man. Like, even his co-stars in his movies, like he beats the hell out of them. Like with those action scenes, he doesn't even like take the effort to like try to, you know, not hit them but make it look real. He just hits them.
Jeez.
But I heard that in his earlier movies, there were some like mobsters, like 'cause he does have like mobster ties. And they would be in his movies, and you could tell that he was like especially careful with them not to hit them. He's like a mile away from them.
Wasn't there a weird fucking thing too, where like a couple years ago, like he went to Russia and he was like talking good about Putin or something,
Yeah,
saying
he's
how
a
strong he was.
Big Russian lackey. I can't tell who's in the pocket more for like Russia, America, or China, because he does like patriotic movies for all of them, kind of.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Very, very strange guy.
Yeah, I mean, he spends a lot of time in East Asia, and that fits the mold for him, I think. There's a lot of creeps who hang out there.
A lot. Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Well, have you been watching anything as exciting as Steven Seagal?
No. I've just been doing Lord of the Rings. Nothing sounds interesting. I feel like I'm caught up pretty much with everything ever made.
I don't know. I think you got about 6 seasons of Supergirl. You gotta watch.
I'm going to save those for when I go to hell.
What did I watch? So I did finish that Wednesday Addams show. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Man, I guess it's doing like Stranger Things numbers.
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah,
It
really
wasn't as good
popular.
as Stranger Things.
No, it's not. But I was a little surprised to hear that. Like,
But yeah, I enjoyed it.
yeah, and I'll definitely watch more. Yeah, when it inevitably come out with season 2. Watched a couple more episodes of CSI Vegas season 2.
Didn't you watch all those before?
No, well, this is the rebooted show.
Oh, I forgot.
So the
about
original was just
reboot.
called CSI, and it took place in Vegas. This one's actually called CSI Vegas.
They didn't cover every possible scenario in like the 14 seasons of that show.
I think they did, but now they're coming back for more.
Let's rehash.
It's not as good. The cast, like, it's just not as electric as that original cast. With
They can't
Grissom.
deliver shitty puns as well.
No, they don't have that Grissom magic.
Yep. Deadpan puns. It suck.
And then I finally got around to starting Lock and Key season 3. I think I watched about 3 episodes. And yet, I know you said this season wasn't as good, and so far I have to agree. Like, it's not doing as much for me.
Yeah, no. It's not as good. It finishes okay, but
Well, I had a few like entertainment related like DC stories we can talk about. So I guess just like a day or two ago, like because James Gunn and that Peter Safran guy, they're now head of like the DC creative. So apparently they put the kibosh on Wonder Woman 3. So no Gal Gadot. Wonder Woman 3, which personally I'm okay with, because even though I kind of like the first one, that second one that we reviewed on this show, if you're interested, was pretty rough. The Wonder Woman 1984.
yeah, I think you guys made me watch that one.
We did.
Rough, yeah.
It was pretty rough.
Which, yeah, I mean, yeah.
But the other, and I'll read this article here about James Gunn too, but I don't know if this has been substantiated. The rumor is that Man of Steel 2 now probably isn't happening either. Like, even though Henry Cavill was Superman in that Black Adam, like, post-credit scene. But it sounds like they might still be using those actors. So, like, the other rumor, too, is, like, Aquaman 2 will be the last Aquaman movie, which, fingers crossed that rumor's true. But then there's a rumor that, like, they could recast Jason Momoa as Lobo.
I heard about that.
Which, look, if you're going to have an on-screen Lobo, like, he is a good choice. But to me, like, Lobo is one of those characters I always thought was kind of one note, and I never really cared about him. So I can't say I'm excited to see an on-screen Lobo. But, hey, if they're going to do it, that's interesting. But does that mean... You would think if that's true, and who the hell knows... that there's got to be like a multiversal thing to explain why, this guy that looks just like Aquaman in one universe is Lobo in another or something. I don't know. But I'll read this Hollywood Reporter article about it. James Gunn has responded to a story published in the Hollywood Reporter addressing the future of DC Studios ahead of a presentation next week in which he and partner Peter Safran will share their vision with Warner Brothers Discovery boss David Zaslav. So, as far as the story yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter, some of it is true, some of it is half true, some of it is not true, and I think that article is kind of referencing those things about, you know, like Wonder Woman, Superman, Jason Momoa, all that kind of stuff. And some of it we haven't decided yet whether it's true or not. Although this first month of DC has been fruitful, building the next 10 years of story takes time, and we're still just beginning. The THR story published Wednesday reported that Patty Jenkins' iteration of Wonder Woman 3 would not be moving forward and raised the possibility that actors such as Henry Cavill and Jason Momoa could be done as Superman and Aquaman, respectively, with Momoa perhaps playing a different DC character down the road. Peter and I chose to helm DC Studios knowing we were coming into a fractious environment, both in the stories being told and in the audience itself, and there would be an unavoidable transitional period as we moved into telling a cohesive story across film, TV, animation, and gaming. Gunn continued on Twitter, but in the end, the drawbacks of that transitional period were dwarfed by the creative possibilities and the opportunity to build upon what has worked in DC so far and to help rectify what has not.
What has worked? Batman?
I mean, I think Man of Steel was good, but even that a lot of people don't like. So, yeah, I don't know. We know we are not going to make every single person happy every step of the way, but we can promise everything we do is done in the service of the story and in the service of the DC characters we know you will cherish and we have cherished our whole lives. Gunn, who directed The Suicide Squad for DC and Warner Brothers, as well as created the HBO Max series Peacemaker, both of which we reviewed on this show if you're interested, began his job as co-chair and co-CEO of DC Studios on November 1st. As for more answers about the future of the DCU, I will sadly have to ask you to wait. We are giving these characters and stories the time and attention they deserve, and we ourselves still have a lot more questions to ask and answer. In addition to his duties at DC, Gunn has Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 due out in May. He and Safran take over from Walter Hamada, who oversaw DC films since 2018 during another period of transition, following the departure of franchise architect Zack Snyder. Warner's has 4 DC films made under the previous regime due out next year: Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which originally was supposed to come out like right around right now.
I can't say any of that sounds great.
No, out of those 4, like the only one I'm interested in is the Flash. Not even because I think it's probably going to be that quality, but because I think it's probably going to have the most impact on the future. Because I got to imagine, like, if they're kind of even sort of wiping the slate clean, that's the movie to use to do it.
Yeah, I would think so.
But it's hard telling. I mean, I think Shazam will be fine. I don't think, just like the first one, I think it'll be fine, but I don't think it'll be great. Blue Beetle, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, they're advertising it like it's a big deal. It's weird.
Yeah, originally it was just going to be one of those like straight to HBO Max things, like the Batgirl movie was going to, but I don't know. And then I really didn't like the first Aquaman, but we'll see what they can do with the second one, I guess. But I don't know, like we've talked about this a lot, but they're in a weird spot, and it's like I don't know how they keep. Like he's been talking about, like, whoa, we want to expand upon the things that have worked, but fix the other stuff, and it's like I don't know how you do that. Like since he's in control of the Peacemaker show and he directed the Suicide Squad, I'm sure he's going to protect those properties and not say, oh, those didn't happen. So it's like, how does he say that those happened? And like, and remember in Peacemaker, there was that episode where Ezra Miller's Flash and Jason Momoa's Aquaman showed up. So it's not like you can say like they're not linked.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So like, I don't know. I think they're definitely going to have some sort of event that mishmashes the stuff in the way they want it to, but it's going to be tricky.
Right now, I don't feel they have anything going that they couldn't just drop and start over.
I feel that same way. In fact,
I wouldn't care.
I think that would actually be my preference, even though like I like some of that stuff. Like I agree. I think it would be better just to wipe the slate completely clean.
But I don't want to start again with like Superman's origin story again. I don't need that kind of shit.
Batman's parents getting killed over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to do a different spin on it, those origins I think you can skip over. I will say though, I remember like when Man of Steel came out, like they showed in the preview like Krypton, like, and I was like, oh god, they're going to show this again. But I actually really liked that first segment on Krypton, Man of Steel. So it's like, I don't know if they can do an interesting take on an origin, I'm cool with it. But like you guys said, I think Superman and Batman especially, like everybody knows how those characters came to be. We don't really need to spend any time on it.
So I mean, they might scrap those movies, but I wonder if they're going to keep the same actors.
See, that's what I was wondering, because like it's weird though that they would then. Well, maybe it's bullshit, the rumor that they would recast Momoa as like a different character then, because if they did that, then it gets really confusing. I think. But if they were just like, okay, like this stuff happened in a different universe, now it's this universe, they're the same characters, and we get an. I mean, I would like to see more Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all could have done better, like with better storylines,
And even though I don't mind Ben Affleck as Batman, like, I think I'd prefer seeing someone else.
I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe he could do a better job if we give him like better stuff to work with. I feel bad that he like didn't get a good clean shot at playing Batman. I felt like it was just
it was kind of marred by the whole Batman v Superman stuff. And
I mean, but he's a rich guy. He's got plenty of good luck on his side, so whatever.
Not feeling too sorry for him. But,
you guys ever see like it seems like anytime they take a candid shot of Ben Affleck, it's just like him being like completely shit out, like smoking or something. There's the meme, but there's like other pictures as well. It's just like this guy is like done on life.
And then there was another story on IGN that I found interesting that just said that Black Adam is likely to lose money and I know, that surprised me, and could lose as much as $100 million.
Wow.
Really? How much did they spend on it?
I'm not sure what the budget was. I could probably find that article, but that surprised me, because I remember when we reviewed it on the show and we were all like, it was kind of a mediocre movie, but I'm sure it'll make its money back, which, I mean, you factor in like the rocks in it and just the fact that it's a comic book property. Like, I would have thought for sure it would have, at the very least made its money back.
Maybe they're starting to frizzle like how much the market can deal with nothing but superhero movies.
I mean, if this leads to them like making like maybe fewer but higher quality, like,
yeah,
or if there's just enough saturation now that people are like, well, I'm only going to go see the good ones, not all of them, because they're not as special anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a good thing ultimately.
I don't know. I mean, people are watching Marvel movies and Marvel shows like at pretty high rates.
Yeah, I gotta think that with Marvel, it's more that they just have a good track record, and so people trust them more. Whereas DC's been so slapdash in quality that people are like, I don't know to begin with, and then I've never heard of this character.
That's true. Yeah.
And you know, maybe The Rock alone wasn't enough to, you know. Apparently, like it started out okay, like that probably that weekend we went and saw it, but then it dropped off quite a bit, and so yeah, it's looking to lose money.
Can you imagine doing some gigantic project with like thousands of people and then just losing $100 million?
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, that would definitely suck. I mean, I can't imagine being in that place. You know, and sometimes
Can you justify making a second one if you lose $100 million?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would be... No, I mean, if it does lose money, I don't think you'll get a Black Adam 2. The Rock is popular enough that I could see them, you know, being like, oh, you know, Black Adam is in this Superman movie or whatever. But no, if this is losing that kind of... Yeah. I can't imagine. Can you? A movie loses that much money and they're like, oh, we'll greenlight a second one. I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, actually, if they're going to do this thing where let's say it's true, they do recast Momoa as Lobo. Like, maybe it would be better to recast The Rock as someone else. I'm not sure who. There is a version of Superman that's black, so he could probably do that. Black Superman. I'd watch Rock as Black Superman. Although Black Adam is kind of Black Superman.
Basically
kind of.
Who'd be good Black Superman?
Well, you know, at one point there was a story that they were possibly developing the Black Superman movie, and they floated Michael B. Jordan as the guy.
Kind of young. Maybe I could see it.
Yeah, but you kind of want somebody young if you're going to do like a shared universe.
Where it might be like 10 or 15 years.
Because look how far along the Marvel universe is going. If you're successful, you want it to keep going. And like if you start a guy even in his 30s, he's going to be into his 50s by the time, you know, you're probably done with him or whatever, you know. And so, yeah, it's something to think about if you're going to do a shared universe, I think. But I'm definitely interested to hear like their plans, like when
I don't know what they're going to do with the movies they already made, like the Flash movie and stuff. Like, is that Gunn's decision on if they're going to release it or what? I
mean, as far as if they're going to release it, I would say that's probably out of his hands. That's probably that David Zaslav's guy's decision. But you know, to me, I mean, the only part of it that they were like, should be like where there was debate was when Ezra Miller was getting in a lot of legal trouble. But like, they've spent so much money on it, I think they almost have to release it. Yeah. Like, even if he does something crazy, I think they almost have to and just be like, yeah, sorry. But, you know, that's why I think the Flash movie, especially since it's that Flashpoint storyline, you know, can definitely work as a reset to the universe. Right. But then it's like, maybe not, because the Blue Beetle movie and the Aquaman 2 are coming out after that. Yeah. So it's like Aquaman 2 is still firmly in this universe. They already shot the movie, you know. So, God, I don't know if The Flash is even going to be the movie that changes things, really.
I don't know.
I don't even know if I've ever heard of the Blue Beetle. It just makes me think of the Tick.
Yeah, it does make me think of the Tick, yeah.
He's basically, well, there's been different versions, but the version they're going with is like this kid that gets infused with like this.
He gets bitten by a beetle.
It's like it's like this alien piece of technology, and it like grafts to him and like puts this like suit over him. But it like I think he kind of like fights with it sometimes too. Like it tries to take control sometimes. So it's almost like an electronic venom kind of.
Oh.
The symbiote.
Kind of. Not exactly, but it has similarities, I guess.
The Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it's a character I'm like super jazzed to see, and not. They could make something cool out of it, but
I don't know, characters like that and Iron Man, like I feel like if the Hulk just grabs you and crushes you a little bit, your suit's like, that's it, you're done, right? Like, what can you do after that?
Well, I mean, it's funny because like Iron Man definitely takes some hits in some of those Marvel movies where you're like, yeah, he's just blood in that suit.
Like extra pulpy.
He did not put enough cushion in that suit that he survived this.
Yeah, there's no cushion. Like, there must not be much.
I mean, football players like get CTE just from like their helmets crashing together, and he's fucking taking like these hits against like cars and shit, and I'm like, yeah, he's dead, or he's a vegetable at the very least.
Yeah, Iron Man makes no sense to me.
But then, anytime you have a character as overpowered as the Hulk, you're like, well, what if the Hulk just like fucked his day up? So it's like, I don't know. You got to have a flight of fancy for some of these things.
I actually read a comic recently where the Hulk, the one below all, like takes over his body. It was that Immortal Hulk comic that I was telling you guys about before. So basically, this is like the one below all is like messing with him, trying to like get him to come to his realm, and all that gamma energy that the Hulk has, and that we see throughout the Marvel universe. That's all actually from the one below all, so the devil or whatever, and that one below all is just another face of the one above all. So it's essentially the same being with two halves, right? One below all and one above all, and. So eventually the Hulk, like, he gets him to come down there, and he does take over his body, and like he becomes like the size of like bigger than planets, and he just starts punching planets throughout the multiverse and like destroying them. He destroys everything, all life, everything, the multiverse.
Yeah, the Hulk, like, I never read much of him because I always found him to be kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah,
I did read like a somewhat recent run. I think it might have been called Indestructible Hulk, but I didn't really care for it.
Inconceivable Hulk.
It seemed like
Incorrigible Hulk.
It got pretty convoluted where like it's like it goes into his headspace, and it's like there's like multiple versions of Banner and these other people that have been Hulks. And it just, I don't know, I couldn't even follow it. It was like, this is gotten silly or something. I don't know. Maybe if I read Hulk all along, it would have made more sense. I've actually been reading a lot of comics lately because I got like both like Marvel Unlimited and DC Infinite. Their like reading services like went on sale like around Black Friday for like $50 a year or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for both of them. So I've been reading quite a bit of comics.
Anything good?
Yeah, I've read Daredevil continues to be pretty good. And I read some Batman stuff that was pretty good. So yeah, a hodgepodge of things.
Okay.
You guys got anything else you want to talk about before we get into story time?
My Houston Cougars are still number one in the nation, guys.
Oh. Do you think they could go all the way?
Las Vegas says so. They could go all the way. Yes, the Houston Cougars could be your 2022-2023 national champions.
I mean, if you're the fan you say you are, I think you should bet the house on them.
Man, I've been betting so much and losing so much.
Are you betting on ping pong again?
No, not anymore. I learned my lesson.
I heard some people bet on disc golf.
I bet on cricket. I don't know why.
You have to know what a crumpet is. I don't know.
It's happening at like 3 a.m. on the other side of the world, so I'm up late. I just bet on it, and I lose by like 100 points.
Do you like cricket? Because I know, like in India, like it's
massive.
Massive, yeah.
It's okay. It's like baseball. It's such a long, drawn-out game,
Can't cricket last like days?
It can, yeah.
Oh my god!
They like take tea breaks in the middle and this and that. It's too much.
They should do the tea on the field.
They did change it to like they create like a T20 league, which is supposed to be like the length of like a basketball or football game. So those are supposed to be like easier to watch. You don't need to clear out the calendar for them.
Selling you those $9 tees.
I'll be honest, I've never seen an actual cricket match. The only thing I know cricket from is King Ralph.
I don't know that.
You've never watched King Ralph?
No.
I don't know if anyone's ever watched that movie.
Is that something just we watched as kids?
King Ralph.
I don't know. Like, it was weird as kids because like movies were like more expensive and like you would just have like these like random VHS tapes, whatever your parents bought, and like we had King Ralph, so like we watched it a lot.
I think that was like one of those like, you know, buy 10 for a penny.
I think you're
subscription.
right. I think you're right.
And it was like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one.
Yeah, like the Columbia
And you
House
just get
thing where with
completely
all the
random
stamps, and you send in the stamps and you get your movies, and then you got to buy like so many more like over the next 5
Yeah.
years or whatever. Yeah,
Jeez.
it was one of those deals.
Yeah, John Goodman, going strong.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, but I liked
I'm
it
sure I
back
would
in the
still
day.
love it. Yeah.
It might still be good. Yeah, maybe we should find King Ralph. We'll review it for the podcast.
Man, technology cost a fortune in the 80s now that I think about it.
I
Like,
know.
Like, some people pay like $800 for like VCRs back then. Like, we were paying like $50, $60 for video games.
I know. If you adjust for inflation, video games were much more expensive back
Yeah.
then. Much, much more expensive.
I can't believe we paid that much. I remember even back then I was like, God, $60 for a game? Like, that is a fortune. That's going to cost, like, that's going to hurt me.
And it sucked too because you'd spend that much, and like back then, like a lot of games sucked.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have a lot of ways of knowing it sucked. And then you'd be like, well, I guess I'll try to play this first level a million times and just keep dying and never get past this first level because this game fucking sucks
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
way too hard.
Now, like, there's so many options. People just go on Steam and they can just play however many. There are still a lot of scams, though, I hear. Like, you know, any developer will put up any old garbage ass game.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's the same broken level for like, it's a 4-minute level that you pay $20 for.
Well, I think they're.
The freemium crap is what's going now.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
worst.
yeah.
I'd rather just pay for a game.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. I think Clash of Clans got me. I paid a lot of money for that game just to upgrade because I was working in an office. So like we were all playing that game together and like it actually mattered who attacked when. And so they took it seriously.
The PlayStation Store is just like flooded with like crappy, cheap games. But, you know, a lot of them will somehow get like a platinum trophy. And so people will buy those cheap, shitty games just because they love having platinum trophies.
Oh.
And so that, you know, they'll get a game that they can get a platinum trophy out of in like no time at all and just up their like gamer score or whatever.
That's like a weird metagame.
Yeah.
How much are people looking at that? I never even care about.
I don't give a shit, but some people like really it matters to them.
Goodness, platinum.
There's a PlayStation podcast I listen to, and like the one guy, like he like really cares about his trophies.
I mean, they sound cool. I remember playing those games and there was like legendary mode or whatever, like, you know, cool prizes. But I was like, this is how many hours that takes?
I know. I have the only platinum trophies I have are the Telltale games that I played because they're literally like these story-based games, and if you finish, like you get the platinum trophy, which is the way it should be. And then I got the Spider-Man one, not because I basically just played Spider-Man and did all the things I wanted to do. And like every once in a while, I'll just check out like my trophy list, and like my percentage on that game was like really high. I was like, damn. And so I looked, and I was only like missing a couple, and they weren't like hard. So I just went and picked those up and got the platinum.
Oh, nice.
But like, I mean, most games are like, oh, play the game a second time, only this time on tedious difficulty.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you. There's
Yeah.
no way I'm doing that.
That's insane mode. Like trying to get some platinum. Like I heard for God of War, like it's nearly impossible.
Well, and like who has the time for it? Like, maybe when I was a kid and you know, I could just play games all the time, you know, maybe I could do that. But like, I barely have time to just play a game one time through.
Yeah.
let alone like, oh, I'm going to play it again on hard mode.
It's those achievement-oriented people. Just having a prize on there that says platinum. They're like, that's it. They're driven to do it, you know?
Bragging rights, I
Yeah, I
guess.
guess so. But I mean, whoever you're bragging to is going to be like, really, dude? You spent that much time?
Man, I never played any of those FromSoft games like Elden Ring and those that are supposed to be
I
like,
heard
you know,
they're, yeah.
really difficult. Apparently this guy like played through all of them, which is like the Dark Souls games, God, I don't, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. There's another like, Sekiro, I think. Like he played through all of them without taking a single hit.
Wow.
And it's like, I just feel sorry for him. like the fact that he took so much time to dedicate, like it's impressive, don't get me wrong, but like he missed out on something.
You know, there was some cancer research that was took place like 10, 15 years ago or something. And what they did was like these scientists were stuck on this problem for like 30, 40 years or something. It was a long time. And they said, you know, let's just open it up to the public and see if we can, you know, get like a crowdsourced solution. And they opened it up to gamers, and they turned it into like a little game. And the gamers figured out in like, I think 10 days or something, like how to solve the problem. And yeah, they were able to solve like a big problem with this cancer solution in like just a short amount of time by just having crowdsourcing for gamers. There's a lot, I mean, there's a ton of problem solving that goes on in video games. People spend a lot of time doing it. If there's a way to like make it to where it benefits us, that's awesome.
We got to turn all these obsessive psychopaths
Platinum mode.
We got to make them cure cancer and get a platinum.
Yeah, exactly. Curing HIV today.
Got that AIDS platinum. Well, guys, should we finally get into story time?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, for anyone who hasn't listened or watched before, we're going to go around the table and everyone's going to bring a topic, conversation, a wacky news story from around the globe, and we'll see if we can't just make something entertaining out of it. And as tradition dictates, AJ, we usually start with you. So what do you got for us?
I've always known this one, but I just think it's gross and everybody should know it too. Grim study shows invisible plume of germ-filled toilet water sprays when we flush. Invisible plume containing microscopic particles of pee or poop is ejected from the toilet after flushing and can remain in the air for minutes. Scientists said this can be a health hazard. A series of grim experiments have revealed how toilet water sprays when we flush with the lid open, spreading potentially deadly germs into the air. Scientists from the University of Colorado say an invisible plume, which contains microscopic particles of pee and poop, is ejected into the air from the toilet every time we flush and can remain for minutes. Since the particles are invisible to the naked eye, researchers use bright green lasers and cameras to reveal how they are rapidly spread from a lidless public cubicle. Lead author Professor John Grimaldi said, "If it's something you can't see, it's easy to pretend it doesn't exist. But once you see these videos, you're never going to think about flushing the toilet the same way again. By making dramatic visual images of this process, our study can play an important role in public health messaging. The airborne droplets shoot out at speeds of 6.6 feet per second, reaching 4.9 feet above the toilet within 8 seconds."
I want this setup, though. I want to see that green toilet smoke.
It looks pretty cool. Looks like a witch's brew. The largest settle onto surfaces where smaller ones less than 5 microns or 1/1,000,000th of a meter linger suspended for many minutes. They can transport E. coli, E. difficile, noroviruses, and adenoviruses. The virus that causes COVID-19, called SARS-CoV-2, has also been detected in human waste. There is literally not conclusive evidence, there's currently not conclusive evidence that it spreads efficiently through the toilet aerosols. Water sprays when we flush. People have known toilets emit aerosols, but they haven't been able to see them. We show this thing is a much more energetic and rapidly spreading plume than even the people who knew about this understood. Scientists warn that the pathogens can persist in the bowl for dozens of flushes, increasing potential exposure risk. Professor Kamali said the goal of the toilet is to effectively remove waste from the bowl, but it's also doing the opposite, which is spraying a lot of contents upward. Our lab has created a methodology that provides a foundation for improving and mitigating this problem. The University of Colorado at Boulder team used 2 lasers, one shown continuously on and above a toilet. Who's pooping in these toilets? I wonder.
Need some toilet lasers.
Right, we do. While the other sent out fast pulses of light over the same area. The constant laser revealed where in space the airborne particles were, while the pulsing laser could measure their speed and direction. Meanwhile, 2 cameras took high-resolution images. Scientists say the invisible plume is a health hazard. The research team used bright green lasers. The cameras to reveal for the first time how they are rapidly ejected from a laser's cuticle. Oh, it's just a picture.
So like, are they getting to like that we should be flushing with the seat down?
I think that's what it is. Just put the lid on the toilet before flushing. But also that means clean the lid of the toilet before sitting down on it, because like you could accidentally press up against it and get all those particles on the...
I think we're just going to have to hook hoses like straight to our asses, sense the shit out of us.
That would be handy.
Right to our mouths. They just push everything gets...
Pushes the air in one end and sucks it out the other end.
Wouldn't it be good if our bodies evolved to where we didn't have to take so much time and piss and shit? Like, it consumes a lot of our time, the old pissing and shit.
We've talked about this before. We are not an evolved species. If we're still pissing and shitting, we're just garbage people. That's what we are. Like, I think a respectable species doesn't piss or shit.
What species is that?
I don't know. We haven't seen it yet, but
there hasn't been a respectable.
There hasn't been a
yet.
respectable species.
You just absorb all the nutrients through your skin.
Yeah.
This reminds me of that Mythbusters where they were like, you know, does poo particles get on your toothbrush? And of course they do.
They do.
Myth confirmed. And I think they even like found that like even like other rooms of the house were getting poo particles on them.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, if it stays in the air for minutes, it's going around.
Yeah.
You're not safe from poo. It's everywhere.
Poo everywhere.
I mean, farts contain poop too. When people fart, there's poop coming out of their butts.
Yeah, I assume like if you're smelling a fart, like, you know, you're ingesting like particles that probably aren't great for you.
Yeah.
It's all part of the microbiome.
Yeah, it's
circle of life.
Strengthening your gut biome.
I mean, we can't avoid this stuff. We talked about it before. Like, all the water on the earth has been peed out by something like 25 times or something.
But it's filtered through the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
Should we roll over to Manifesto round 1?
Okay. This is a bit of a story. So, in India, there's 2 parents. They have a daughter, and one day she goes to a temple, and she never comes back, and so they report her missing, and it's going on for a while, investigation, whatever, and so they find a dead body, and you know they have the dad come to the morgue or whatever, and he identifies as it's her, and somehow they put this murder on a guy, and he goes to prison, and like his mom is dead set that it wasn't him, and so he's been in there for like 7 years, and his mom's been, you know, studying, doing whatever, and like at some point she finds that the woman is still alive and is married with kids, and what had happened is she had like ran off and eloped with the guy. And so, you know, now they can prove that like the guy who's in prison didn't murder her, obviously.
Right.
So, but he's still in prison at this point.
But then why did the dad identify the body as hers?
Maybe it was decomposed or something, what they found, or, you know, there was, you know, hard to tell, but apparently he ID'd the body.
Oh my God.
Dang, man. Like, it does kind of remind me of stories my mom used to tell me, like when I was a kid. Like in India, the cops are crooked. Like you could give them some money and they'll just arrest anybody and be like, "Oh, this is the person that did that crime to you or stole you or whatever."
Yeah.
You know? So like maybe the parents of this girl, like they thought, "Oh, the guy rightfully, you know, deserves to go to prison." They caught him, but it was just the cops finding some random ass person.
Some random dude.
Yeah, that's messed up, man.
So
I always wonder what kind of settlements people can get, like if they're wrongfully imprisoned, like, and they sue the government, like. I mean, you should be if you're wrongfully imprisoned and they prove it and you get out, you should be a millionaire at the very least.
You should be set for life.
Yes.
But
I mean, it's
I
so
think
fucked up.
there's a lot of cases where people don't get paid. Like they're just happy to be free, you know. Like I heard
how many people you think just are innocent in prison for their whole life or something?
I think a lot more than we think.
Because you don't want to think it.
Yeah, you don't want.
But it definitely happens, and we know it happens.
Yeah. Man, that's horrible. Damn.
Yeah, that's fucked up, and it just a weird sort of circumstances that led to it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also like if the girl didn't know that anybody was arrested and like, you know, she just completely lost.
Right, she was somewhere else.
Yeah, so I mean that makes sense, I guess. But if she had known, like, hey, somebody got arrested while I was doing this, like that'd be super messed up. She should be in jail then.
Well, I got a more upbeat topic. This is 9 outlandish and possibly deadly things used as contraceptives.
Oh.
Number 1, animal guts. No glove, no love. But in the days before latex and condoms, you had to get creative with what you made the glove out of. And one of the most common choices was animal intestines. To make them more comfortable for both parties, ancient people used to soak the guts in warm water or milk first. I bet those smell good. As far as bizarre contraceptives go, at least this one probably works, as long as the intestine is tightly tied on one end and properly cleaned. It ought to stop sperm splatter. You just have to get over the thought that you've wrapped your dong in something that was once up an animal's butt. Man, can you imagine what, like, intestine casing soaked in milk?
Is someone cooking chitlins?
2, blacksmith's cooling water. Greek doctor Soranus, it's probably Soranus, came up with what he probably thought was an ingenious idea in the 2nd century. He theorized women could prevent pregnancy if they jumped backwards 7 times after sex and chugged the water blacksmiths used to cool metal. Of course, it didn't work until the metal remnants started building up in the body, rendering the lady sterile. That's it. If she didn't die from heavy metal poisoning first. Fun fact, this method kind of survived until World War I. Women would flock to work in factories, so lead exposure would make them sterile.
Oh, God.
I need a job in one of the lead factories.
You know, that reminds me that I think because of oil and gas, like, there's been released, like, so much lead in the air that the human population is just stupider now than it once was.
That could be it. Well, and we did an article a long time ago that said, like, the average sperm count is going down because of all, like, the, you know, plastic pollutants and stuff in the air. So it's like, ugh. Number 3, I actually just learned about this one on a podcast I listened to. Lemons. Have some lemon before sex? No, we don't mean drinking some lemon juice. People from around the world rely on cutting a lemon in half and shoving it into a woman's vagina. It was supposed to work as a primitive diaphragm. In a way, it sort of did. If the fit was right, the lemon could theoretically stop sperm from getting into the womb. Additionally, lemon juice is a mild spermicide. You just have to ignore the horrendous vaginal infections you could get. And apparently on this podcast I listened to, like, Casanova, he would do this. He would bring lemons around with him and do the lemon trick. What do you think a woman would think of that, though? Like, here, put this acidic...
The lemon man cometh.
Put this acidic fruit in your snatch. Number 4, crocodile crap. Okay, so putting a lemon up there isn't a good idea, but what about some crocodile dung? That was the bright idea ancient Egyptians came up with. This non-functional contraceptive method is recorded on a medical papyrus from the 17th century BCE. The Egyptians thought that sperm would get tangled in the thick, sticky crocodile crap. We're going to go out on a limb and guess that no Egyptian woman actually agreed to try this method. I mean, at that point, shouldn't you just do it in the butt?
Yeah.
If you're going to be putting your dick in shit anyway.
Yeah.
I mean. Number 5, Coca-Cola. A cold Coke is a refreshing drink to have post-coitus. And in the 1950s and 60s, people thought it could prevent pregnancy, too. Just shake up a bottle till it's ready to pop, open the cap, quickly slip the mouth up the vagina, and let her rip. People at the time thought the carbonic acid in Coke would kill sperm. The bottle was also considered to be the perfect shape for an impromptu douche. In case you're eyeing a Coke bottle right now, stop right there. This doesn't work, and it'll only make a lady susceptible to infections and STDs.
Man, the ideas people got from out of nowhere.
I know. Number 6, animal testicles. Conceiving a baby generally requires a pair of balls somewhere along the chain of events. If you apply a twisted enough logic, it makes sense why ancient people thought animal testicles might have some power to stop pregnancy. How the testicles were used depends on the time period and location. In China, for example, women would grind beaver balls into a powder and enjoy it as a supposedly contraceptive after sex tea. In
Plan B. B for beaver.
In Europe, testicles were more magical. All the woman had to do was wear a chain of weasel gonads around her neck or thigh.
How many weasels do you have?
We don't know why they thought that would work. I know poor weasel population in those days just losing their ball. It would be funny to have like a necklace full of nothing but weasel balls.
Your Wilma Flintstone.
Oh yeah, the pearl necklace. Number 7, squat and sneeze. Not everybody in ancient Greece was on board sore anus's heavy metal water idea. Instead, other doctors of the time came up with a more natural solution. After dancing the horizontal mambo, they advised that women should assume a stable squatting position, then she needed to sneeze. We suppose the idea was that the force of the sneeze would squirt all the man goo out of her privates. You can see the logic, but it doesn't work that way. Number 8.
Just queef cum everywhere. Get it all out.
Sounds like a good idea. Number 8, juniper berries. Like the Chinese, Native Americans believed in the contraceptive power of tea, but instead of beaver testicles, they made the tea out of juniper berries, and they were actually onto something. Juniper berries make uterine linings unsuitable for embryonic growth. If a pregnant woman consumes a lot of juniper berries, she might have a miscarriage. It's not a stretch to think juniper berries would therefore prevent contraception as well. But just to be clear, this is not a reliable method if it works at all. And finally, number 9, mercury. Ah, good old mercury, the miracle medicine of the ancient world. It's been used as everything from a common cold medicine to an elixir of immortality. With such varied uses, it's no wonder it was taken as a contraceptive as well. Just swig some mercury after sex and you're good to go. We hope we don't have to tell you that in reality, mercury is highly toxic. The only thing it'll do is kill you, not prevent pregnancy. But then again, we suppose you can't get pregnant if you're dead, huh? They got us there. It is weird that like mercury, of all things, was used in so much stuff back in the day.
Yeah, it just looks cool. I think people were stupid enough to be like, all right, this is cool, we should use it.
Where do you get mercury? Or is there like natural deposits of mercury? How does that work?
I think so.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. It has to be mined, I assume.
Do they still use it in like thermometers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Mad Hatters. Like, you guys know the story, right? The Hatters, they used to use mercury.
Oh, and they would go like crazy or whatever.
Then they were, called Mad Hatters for that.
I heard that once and I totally forgot, but you're right.
Speaking of hats, I saw two people this week dressed like Dickens characters wearing top hats go down the street, and I was like,
It is
I've
Christmas
never seen
time.
this in my life. Now I saw it twice.
Christmas in Portland. You see some naked people. You see people with top hats. You see everything.
We've got like this stylish old guy in our building, and he was one of them. But he also has like a tricorner like pirate hat he wears sometimes. I'm like, this guy is pimping. He's probably like 70.
Yeah, I was driving earlier today, like near downtown. I saw this black guy, and I was like, this guy's really sharply dressed.
Yeah.
Why is everybody dressing up so nicely all of a sudden? It's Portland, people dress like shit.
That's true. It does have that reputation.
Yeah.
I remember when we moved here, everyone was like, went to the grocery store, and there are like multiple people wearing like pajamas.
Yeah, she was super excited. Everybody here just dresses down. It's nice, you know.
I told him I kind of feel like I should start like wearing like weird fashion shit, like cloaks and shit. Just like really like outlandish shit. Just see what kind of reaction I get.
Yeah. Which is like a normal down to earth guy.
Right.
Just wearing cloaks and stuff. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm sure some cop would get fidgety. Like a cloak? Uh-oh.
It would feel weird, like trying to arrest somebody with a top hat. You'd be like,
Sir?
yeah, how do I address you?
Yeah.
You're coming with me, my lord.
You should find one of those Dickens guys and be like, boy, what day is this?
There's still time.
It is weird that like back in the day people wore suits all the time, especially like if they went on airplanes. That was like, yo, you better dress in a nice suit if you're going on an airplane.
Even like normal things, like people just going out, like they'd wear a suit for everything. Like even doing manual labor, people would dress nicer than they do now. You know?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's weird to me. I think it was to cover up the smell. I think they wore a lot of clothes, a lot of layers to cover up their stinky ass odor.
They probably just got stinkier, man. You'd sweat in all those suit
Then they'd have to
jackets.
wear more clothes.
I feel like back in the day people wore a lot more hats too.
Oh yeah. You know, one of the reasons for that is that they used to throw shit like out of the windows, and so people used to wear hats because they didn't want the shit to land on their heads, like shit and piss. And like women used to sit and walk on the outside of the street, like of the sidewalk, because the shit and piss would, you know, land on the men. Then
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I knew there was a good chance that shit or piss could be coming down on me, I'd be wearing a hat.
Get one of those like oversized
yeah,
sombreros.
I'd have one of those.
You got like a big old shit umbrella.
Oh gosh.
Be honest, if you were emptying a chamber pot and down on the street below you saw somebody you fucking hate, would you aim?
Oh yeah.
I just wait till like rush hour when the city block's packed. Like, yep, it's time. Definitely gonna get some bystanders
Don't
today.
even look. Don't even look out the window. Just chunk.
Yeah, you just like
This is full.
Go and collect your neighbor's piss and shit cans. Got a shit can there, Johnny? It's that time of day.
you save up for like an entire week.
I can barely breathe in here.
What a terrible system.
Yeah. I mean, there was plumbing thousands of years before that, but just there was a stretch where we just didn't give a shit. We just, I don't know.
Man, can you imagine what those streets smelled like?
Oh, you know, they got so bad that like they started thinking that miasma was the reason people were getting sick and not the actual germs and bacteria. And miasma is just like the smell that would, you know, of the festering garbage and waste and everything in their sewer system and everywhere. So yeah, they thought the smell was what really did the damage. But I mean, you know, like we talked about in the earlier segment, there's poop in that smell. There's stuff in there.
Hey, do either of you guys by chance have just like a really short story? We're close to the hour, but not quite.
I got long ones.
Oh, never mind.
What do I got? Oh, Revlon has his first female CEO. 3 months later, they're bankrupt.
Oh. All right. First of all, they were probably already going under, and then they just quickly made this lady CEO. But yeah, I mean, it's a women's makeup company.
That's the thing. I would have been like, really? Of like all companies, you would have thought they would have had a female like
Yeah.
CEO. Like, what guy gives a fuck about women's makeup?
How could you even take a guy seriously in that role?
It was probably like Thomas Edison is like, what do I do with these leftover fish guts? I know, I'll make lipstick.
Eyeliner. Yeah.
Yeah, what do I do with all this coal?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, not that I really know about that industry, but I thought Revlon was like one of the bigger makeup companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big. So yeah, you know how women are. Spend, spend, spend.
Bad with money. She spent too much money on makeup.
How does a makeup company go under? They charge a fortune for like pennies of material. Like, what are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like an alcohol company going out of business. Like, it doesn't make sense.
There's always people who need this.
Maybe in this economy, women are like, you know what? I'm just gonna be ugly for a while. I can't afford this shit.
I'm mean mugging it.
Maybe if you have to choose between food and makeup,
Yeah, that's true.
paying your gas bill.
It's getting worse too, man.
Blame Biden for all these ugly chicks running around. Damn, this economy ought to hell.
You're like on a date complaining about the economy.
Biden making all of our chicks ugly.
Man, you know, most of human history, like, we didn't have makeup. I wonder when did we start wearing makeup? When did people like make that transition from just natural face to like, I'm gonna paint this whole thing up because I can't stand it anymore?
Yeah, I don't know when like modern day makeup would have taken off. You got to figure sometime like 20th century, right?
Yeah, it's gotta
I
be
don't
recent.
know. You had like dyes and paints for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, people did like gussy themselves up in certain ways, like with different like dyes and shit. But I mean, I'm talking about like more modern day, like lipstick, blush. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I've been to boot camp, so I've seen women without makeup, and they're pretty much just dudes.
Yeah, you get a woman with a bad haircut, and you're like, yeah, you could be a guy. You could pass.
Like, I think we're a lot gayer than we think. There's like no like it'd be between species. Like orangutans, they have a huge difference between men and women. Like there's a big difference. You can tell who the woman is in that situation. Humans, like, there's slight differences, you know, like very slight differences. We're like one of the gayest species.
I don't know. It seems like a big difference.
You throw some hormone pills in a dude, and then he pretty much becomes like a woman. Like just he becomes softer, right? And I don't know, just small changes, really.
You sold me.
I'm not saying. I'm not trying to sell you.
I'm gay as a goose.
But yeah. There's makeup helps a lot.
And hormones.
I'm pro makeup.
Hormones help a lot.
Hormones help a lot more, even. Yeah.
Yeah, Biden. At least give our men some more hormones.
Yeah, if the women can't afford makeup, then the men should have hormones. Yeah, I saw this like guy who did this, like, it was a joke, but he was breaking down like how straight he is. He was like, I'm so straight that I don't even fuck women. I only bang dudes because dudes look like women to me. That's how manly I am.
Ultra alpha.
I remember once, like, me and him were, like, riffing and doing these stupid, like, oh, I'm so straight, blah, 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 blah. And mine was, I'm so straight, I can get away with saying the phrase, oh, pasha, without anyone questioning my sexuality.
Oh, for sure. Dang, that's pretty gay.
Should we wrap this bad boy up?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, everyone, we thank you very much for listening and watching and playing along. If you will, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and audio form on your podcast servers of choice. Thumbs up, likes, give us more comments. We enjoy your comments. And why not come over and join us on Twitter? Guys, where could people find you on the Twitter?
A name for this too, and that's number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that'll do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.